Hey guys, welcome to another review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Joker. It's a really intriguing movie, and I've got a lot of thoughts on it, so if this ends up being a long video, I apologize. So, let's start off with my initial thoughts on it. So, before I even went into the theater, I kind of wasn't expecting much, to be honest. I heard good things, but it seemed like uh, one of those Oscar Gold movies where it's like a whole lot of tropes, a whole lot of playing off of people's emotions. But I don't know. Once I saw it, it was like it really like hit something in me that was like it felt like an emotional experience from beginning to end. And it's so weird to have a comic book movie that actually like means something. It feels like nowadays with all these Marvel movies coming out, all these crappy DC movies, you wouldn't really expect any of them to say anything anymore. There's no like story that needs to be told. It feels like everything is just a comic book that they decide, okay, let's film this. There's less of the artistic qualities to it. It doesn't feel like. I think someone recently was calling out the Marvel movies, saying it's not cinema, and I kind of agree to a certain point. And when it comes to this movie, I feel like this is true cinema. This is, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. So, let me give a summation of the movie. So basically, we start out with Arthur Fleck. He's just, you see him as a clown putting on his makeup, and he's like, he cries a little, so you know he's very emotional. And then it kind of like skips into what he does, and he's a clown for hire, and he gets beaten up by some teens. They steal his sign. It was just the beginning really gives you an idea of what this movie's going to be. It's going to be like this fall down a hole that just as you're reaching the end, it just speeds up until finally once you hit the bottom, it just splat. It was the movie crescendoed into madness, and it was almost like it was gleeful insanity by the end. And I hate to say this, but I actually enjoyed a lot of the violence in it because it felt realistic. It felt like it was actually happening. It gave me like chills almost, which I can't say many movies do nowadays because I've seen so many, and for a movie to actually like speak to me in any way at this point, it has to try hard. And I think this movie did. I guess I have to mention, a lot of people have been talking about people coming in and shooting up theaters and stuff for this movie. They're like hella worried that people are going to be violent. And I could see where they're getting that thought process because of what happened with The Dark Knight Rises, but I feel like this is something that's actually, it's putting those mental illnesses that cause that in the forefront. It's telling a story about how people get there. And it's kind of, in a way, it gives you an idea of what you can do to avoid it, how you can just, if you treat one person with just a little bit of kindness, you could actually change an entire event. And something I wasn't expecting is they made Joker really, like, extremely sympathetic. Like, in this, I did not feel that he was just full-on evil. He was not just some insanity. He was not just an anarchist. He was a full fleshed-out human who you just see every event that just slowly brings him to the apex of his story, where it's just no longer is he human. He's just full-on insanity. And it felt so good. Anyway, he's a clown. He gets beaten up. He's having a rough time. You see he lives with his mom. He's really down and out already as the movie begins, but at least he has a job, right? But, and then it goes from there to just slowly things start building up. Eventually he finds out that his mom has been lying to him about who his father is, and it's Thomas Wayne. So then he goes on pursuit to find Thomas Wayne, his real father. And then when he finally finds his dad, it turns out it's not his dad, and the guy's like, what the hell are you talking about? Your mom's insane. And then he finds out that his mom is insane, and that she was in Arkham Asylum, and she apparently abused him when he was little, and just all these things. that's just one storyline throughout the movie too. That's not like the overarching story. I feel like the overarching story is just about him trying to escape the inevitable madness that he's falling into. From the beginning, we see him. He goes to a therapist, and she doesn't give a crap about him. She's just like, Are you doing your journal? You have to do your journal. Have to make sure you're doing your journal." She looks at his journal, and there's stuff in there that's like red flag stuff, and she's just like, you weird man." She's not helpful in any way. And then he's on 7 meds, like heavy medication, to keep him like in check. And clearly it's not even like working all that well, but it shows how back then at least there was so little consideration for mental health that they defund it, and he has nowhere to go for medication, nowhere to go for therapy, and he's left just, yeah, there's something wrong with you, but like, get over it, right? It really brings to light the importance of mental health, because if you're not mentally well, you're not well. Anyway, going off track here. Usually I have a piece of paper that I carry with me to keep me on track, so sorry I'm a little ADD. Anyway, there's one part of the storyline that involves Robert De Niro and his show. He's basically like, he's Jimmy Fallon, he's Jimmy Kimmel, he's like a night show guy. He's playing a character called Murray, and he's a comedian. So the whole idea of that, where clearly the Joker, Arthur, he's grown up watching this show and he's kind of idolized this guy. He wants to be this guy. He wants to at least meet him. It would be like the apex of his life, just like the ultimate good, just for him to meet this guy, it seems. Because at one point he just has a dream sequence where the guy's just super nice to him, and it's like he needs a father figure, and that's who he saw this guy as. So when you see him insult the Joker later on about him being just a terrible comedian, he brings out a book and he's laughing at his jokes before he says them. He laughs at his jokes during it. It's so sad. And De Niro plays it well in the way that you actually start to get, like, he's not evil, he's not wrong in the stuff he does, but there's some reason that you just want him to get hurt. Like, for some reason, you're like on Joker's side almost by the time Joker just loses it. I find that most of the little parts in this movie make the whole. It's not really one exact story. There's so many little things going on throughout that I was entertained the whole time. Even at the slow parts where it's just people talking and stuff, it's written so well that the characters make the scenes. I will say, the girlfriend that he imagined in this, which at one point he meets a girl in the elevator, she's got a kid, and she's kind of nice to him. She doesn't like say hi really, she doesn't talk to him, but she's just like, and that's enough for him to start fantasizing about her. We're not supposed to know that he's fantasizing when they first get together, but when I saw him come up to her and kiss her when she's in her hotel room and stuff, or motel room, or whatever apartment, I could tell that it was not real, because everything that led to that, it was like, no way any human would consider having a relationship with this guy with what he has done to this point. He's just been creepy, so it was obviously in his head, in my opinion. But we're not supposed to know that, and by the end, I feel like that's a big reveal. That's probably the lesser part of the storyline, in my opinion, because I knew that was part of his insanity, obviously. It was a nice touch, though, to kind of give the idea that once he's off of his meds, he's not there. Whatever he wants to imagine, that's what it is. So, I also think this movie is kind of subjective. Like, I watched it with my wife, and she sort of saw all sorts of different storylines that I didn't quite think of. Like, by the end, she thought that Joker might have killed the girl that he was with. The one that he thought he was with. I don't think so. They didn't show it specifically, so I choose to believe that he didn't, but it's always possible. Like, there's little things that they leave open-ended so you can kind of fill it in for your own. And that's kind of the way that I like some movies. I don't like when they spell it out for you. It's like, maybe this happened, maybe that happened. It's possible that the whole events of the movie mostly took place in his head because of what he was going through. Maybe he never even talked to Thomas Wayne. Maybe the whole time he was just like half catatonic or something. Who knows? The storyline of him starting this whole what would you call it, a revolution basically against the rich, the rise up. I enjoyed that a lot because it's so interesting that he can cause all this without even having any intentions towards it. Some guys attacked him. He's losing his crap, getting beat up. He pulls out a gun, shoots them, chases the other guy down, shoots him. It's just straight up. He murders people that were attacking him, and then that plays into the whole structure of the movie, because here and there you just see the people slowly growing towards, yeah, we're clowns, we're taking down the rich, and by the end, it feels like a full culmination of the story. Like it everything started small at the beginning, and it reached such a peak at the end that it felt like that's the way a movie's supposed to be made. Now, the action in the movie is not extreme because obviously this is more of a realistic piece, and I appreciated that a lot because anytime something like really action-packed happened, like when he killed the clown that came into his house, his friend, in quotations, that was extreme, and I loved the poor little dwarf guy. He's like, oh my god, what are you doing? Please, no. Oh, no. And he's like, you were my friend. You can go. It's fine. The guy's just like, he goes up to the door and can't open it. Oh, that was, like, probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. I was cracking up, but also, like, on edge because he literally just murdered a guy in cold blood right there. There's such a tangible feeling of like stress during the movie. Like you actually feel stressed for him when he's getting beaten up by stuff, when life's getting down. You kind of feel like you're there with him. You are in his position. So when he does something like gets revenge in a way it sort of feels like you're getting that revenge with him. I will say the only part that I thought, this is probably like acting and directing, that felt uneven was when they decided to toss Bruce Wayne and his parents right at the end where his parents get killed, obviously. That felt like, it felt out of place almost, like they should have just shown them go down an alley and some guy follow them and like leave it there, because once you see them standing there and get shot, it's kind of like, eh. I mean, I was more paying attention to what Joker's doing. I don't really care about this part. I've seen that so many times. And the Bruce Wayne actor, he was just standing there. He didn't look like he was upset. He wasn't running. I guess the idea is he would be catatonic or whatever. He would just be non-responsive. But that part felt awkward. I don't know if that was directing or acting or a little both. But that's the only scene that I would say felt off. Maybe it was like added after the fact where it's like, you know what, we should, so that people get that feeling of Batman. I don't know, but it's interesting that in this, the Joker didn't kill Batman's parents. He wasn't involved in that at all, personally. But because of events that he did, he caused a rise up that caused the death of Bruce Wayne's parents. So it makes it very personal for Bruce Wayne. So if they ever follow up with a Batman movie, I guess the Joker would be really old and the Batman would be really young, but if they ever do a follow-up, I feel like there's so many little things already set up for them to use, and I want to see a Batman story where it's more realistic, like this movie, where it's like, I know that for the most part, the Christian Bale movies felt kind of realistic, but this feels like it's really, really grounded in reality. If we were to have a Batman movie like that, I think it would be really interesting. It's almost like, it's like Split or something, where it's a superhero movie, but for real. It's like Glass, where it's like, it's not going to go how you expect it. I think that would be a really good Batman movie. And this could be a great setup for a new DC universe that involves more reality. But I don't know. I don't know if we'll see that. I would definitely appreciate it though. Um, so anyway, I guess when it came to summing up the story, I didn't really get to that. But my overall opinion of this movie is it's definitely watchable. It's definitely enjoyable. For me, for most people, I think it would be. It's probably going to be a little too upsetting for some. I like even at the theater I was at, there were some women who were like huffy and they got up at the end. They were like, "I'm out of here." It's like I could see how that would happen. Maybe it hits them too personally, but this is a movie that you wouldn't take your kids to, but you would definitely get something from watching this by yourself. You get put in someone else's shoes for an hour and a half or so, and I appreciated it a lot. So 10 out of 10, I would definitely recommend. As far as would I want to see a sequel to it, I feel like it would cheapen this story to make just like a direct sequel. I feel like they need to wait a minute, wait for it to naturally come to their heads, write it out, fully flesh it out, and then maybe a sequel would be needed. I wonder if this Joker's ever going to be part of the main universe too. I think that would be really cool, but I don't know how it would work with Jared Leto. And Jared Leto apparently is like really pissed that he didn't get his movie, but I mean, you can't blame him. This movie made so much money, like crazy. It's making money hand over fist. The theater I was at, packed, and that's already a few days after it came out. It was just packed. There was like, I had to sit up front, way up front, right in the middle, and had to like lean my chair all the way back to be able to see the screen. It was insanely popular. So, I don't know. Tell me what you guys thought about the movie in the comments below. I will definitely take a look and reply to you if need be. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye.